So the transmission is removed and on the stand, but few things I want to bring to your attention. One being that the transmission on these vehicles with this 6L80 to this 5.3, I was warned by some other people that it could get really stuck to the block. And I can tell you, they were not lying. So it took literally 1 hour of prying to get this transmission off the block. The dials, which we had to put back in the block, they pulled out with the transmission, which normally they stay in the block, but they were extremely corroded in the transmission side. So, and we put penetrant on them for quite a while, and just had to, you only have two areas you can pry from. You have, of course, the starter has to be removed. I want to bring that to your attention. That has to be removed for two reasons, because that's one of your pry points, and that's your access to get to the three torque converter bolts. That's all it has. So, you know, you get those with a long extension, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, with a 15 millimeter. You have to pull the splash shield off the front and to go over the forward cross member with a long extension, and you can get a straight shot to the three torque converter bolts. But after that was done, it was take the studs, there actually were studs, only 2 bolts, and the rest of the 8 fasteners that hold the transmission to the engine are studs. And so bolts on everything on the bottom was pretty easy to get loose. At the very top of this transmission, they opted to put 2 brackets on the studs, and the nuts take a 13 millimeter socket, and you have to get those off, remove the bracket, and then you can get to the 15 millimeter head on the studs, remove them, and those at the very top, one on each side. They are quite difficult to get. Long extension from the back, drop it down a little bit. I put a block under the oil pan that's kind of rest the oil pan on the cross member, and was able to get up there and get to those brackets. But just be forewarned, it's very, very tight up there. One's for some vacuum lines or vent lines, I guess better to say, and the other is for some fuel line. It's a fuel line bracket. But wanted to bring that to your attention. So, and then just the absolute problem we had getting the transmission off. It was literally driving putty knives, thin putty knives between the block and the transmission just to get a gap. And then I did not want to damage the transmission because it has a very high core value on it. And so we just kind of pried from both sides, wiggled and shook till we got the gap built up, and kept putting in thicker pieces of metal till we got it to break loose, and you finally could hear it pop. But again, both dials came out with the transmission. So then it was just a matter of swapping over the adapter that goes in the back of the transmission to the transfer case. That had to be swapped over, put a new gasket on it, and transfer the new transmission onto the stand. And as far as going back up, it's still a pretty fair sized job, and you want some assistance with this, but I think it went in easier than it came out for sure. The brackets on top going back in are no easier than they are coming off. I mean, you just got to get up there and get them on the stud, and make sure they don't get pinched between the block and the transmission, because that happened to me, and we had to kind of back up a little bit. They kind of want to hang down in the way, so you just got to make sure when you're putting the transmission up, the upper brackets are clear between the block and the transmission bell housing. And at that point, it's just continued installing the studs and torquing them down, and then reverse with the torque converter bolts, and we carry on from there. times you have to support the transmission once it's bolted to the engine as you start putting the exhaust back on. So the cross member was put up and down a couple times just so we could support it and get the jack out of the way, get the exhaust back in. Not a big deal. We didn't put the nuts back on. We just put it up in there and put a bolt on either side just for support. So you may find that you're pulling that cross member down and putting it up several times, but not a big deal until you finally put the bolts in it and torque them down. But anyway, just a little tidbit there. It's Miller time. Very important things. Being as this transmission was a catastrophic failure, metal, was spewed everywhere through the transmission. It also went into the transmission cooler, and at this point, I made the decision to flush the cooler. At first, I was thinking about replacing the entire cooler, which is part of the AC condenser, and I just wanted to see if it was blocked in any way or if we could flush it out. We were successful flushing it out. We went through each cooler line with one can of Lugard transmission flush, going one direction to the other, and then blew air in between. It did clean out. We were getting clear fluid out of the cooler and with good flow, so I felt confident that we were good with that, and there were no leaks in the lines or the cooler itself. So I opted just to do it that way rather than replace the entire condenser with cooler, and save the customer some money as well on parts and labor. So and when you're putting the transmission up, I upgraded this one. This is a remanufactured to a billet converter. Highly recommend that because it's a high failure item with these transmissions. Make sure it has about a quart of transmission fluid in the torque converter before you install it. This transmission was dyno tested before it came to me, so it had fluid already in it, and it had some fluid in the transmission as well. So I didn't have to add the total capacity of approximately 12 quarts. I think I got by with around 8 quarts total when I was done for completely full when it was hot. So I think I put initial about 6 quarts in it, and then I just idled it, and then checked it, and didn't take about 2 more quarts to top it off at the end. And of course, also I'll bring this to your attention on these transmissions. You do have to program them, and we will get into that here shortly. I had never done that before, and it was not super difficult. It just requires the software be installed. You have to have the pass-through adapter, a J2534 adapter. That's required, and it plugs into the OBD2 port and into your laptop. And I downloaded that software from the manufacturer. In this case, I used a Top Don. one of the more affordable J2534 pass-through adapters, and then got my software off the AC Delco TechLine Connect website. The software for this was with tax about $48 for this transmission. It is specific to the VIN, so anyway, that we'll cover that a little more here in a bit. But anyhow, and we've talked about the thermostat on the transmission. The remanufacturer requires the thermostat to be replaced with a new one for warranty purposes. I did replace it, but I did not put another thermostat. I put a PPE thermal bypass on the transmission. I've done this before. It eliminates the thermostatic operation, and you just get complete flow through the cooler. Heat is definitely a culprit in the failure of these transmissions. So in the environment we live in, I think this works real well. The transmission runs in the 150 to 175 range, and I like that much better, knowing that I'm getting complete flow through the cooler at all times. Very nice piece, easy installation in place of the thermostat. So that's where we're at, and we'll be discuss the programming here shortly.
Guten
That's called German torque. Guten. Watch your step.
was as tight as you could get it, plus a turn and a half.
It's a turn and a half. So with the J2534 adapter, pass-through adapter hooked up, and the software downloaded, went to the AC Delco site, got their software by then for the TCM, and got to the page where it said start programming after you pay your money for it. And it took about 8.5 minutes approx to download the software. It went off without a hitch. And at the very end, you get a notification that it actually is complete. It gives you a warranty ID number. Save that number, screen print it, or write it down because it's required by the remanufacturer for the warranty of it. So at that point, we were able to drive the car. And of course, you have to do an adaptation, relearn at the end as well. I did that with my scanner. And then you can start driving it, and the pressures and the shift points start adjusting. Took about, I'd say 20 minutes and it really started shifting well. And from that point on, it was just road test and allowing it to learn more. But anyway, that was the end of this project. Some final leak checks and returned to the customer. At this point, it is operating well and hope it does for a long time. So I hope this has been helpful and y'all have a great day. Sig's Garage is done for the day. We're out. Final scan and inspection. Guess what, folks? We're done. Be clear?
Mm-hmm. Done.